Hey everybody, it's Mr. Christensen here, talking about the writing process today in writing workshop. First thing you need to do is make sure you have a spiral handy. Also make sure you got your pencil, and the spiral should be open to the first section. This is the class notes section. We're going to talk about the writing process, what it is, what you need to know about it, and how we're going to use it throughout the year. Writing process is divided into 5 different steps. Step 1 is pre-writing. So if you have not written down the writing process on your paper in your spiral, please do so now. Pause it, and then make sure you write step 1, pre-writing. Second step, and we're going to go into these steps here a little bit more detail in the near future, so you might want to save a little bit of room after them, or if you want to add on to it later afterwards or someplace else you can as well. Step 2 is going to be drafting. Step 3 is revising your paper. Step 4 is proofreading and editing. And then the last step, step 5, is publishing your work. Let's talk about step 1 with a little bit more detail here. Pre-writing. When you pre-write, this is where you're going to be generating ideas. There's all kinds of different things you can do to pre-write. You can brainstorm, you can list, you can daydream, you can free write, you can do a graphic organizer. We do a lot of graphic organizers because they really do help organize your writing better, make it a little easier to understand, a little more coherent, those types of things. Any of those things that are listed right now on the screen are things you can do to pre-write. The biggest thing about pre-writing is the more ideas, the better, because that's one thing I've noticed in a lot of 7th graders writing is the pre-writing is adequate at best, and when you go to look at the final draft, it lacks ideas. And the reason why it lacks ideas is because the pre-writing was not done well. Excuse me. After you do your pre-writing, after you get all your ideas kind of organized, you want to start your first draft. First drafting is when you're going to be thinking about what you wrote down in the pre-write, and now you're going to start to kind of organize it in terms of paragraphs, sentences, so on and so forth. The first draft, we don't necessarily care about any grammatical or punctuation or spelling mistakes because it's just a first draft. This is the rough draft, if you will. We're going to put the corrections. We're going to make the changes to it later. So you need to make sure that you're just starting to put the ideas more into a cohesive paper, I guess is the best way to put it. Step 3, this is revision. I'm going to have you write something down a little more in your paper, on your notebook paper here a little bit. When you revise, this is where you revise for content, okay? And I want you to write that down, please. Revising is for content, and here they're going to talk about the A.R.M.S revision process. I'm going to add on to that here in a future slide, but when we revise for content, you're going to proofread and edit for the things that are listed on the screen: spelling, punctuation, grammar, those types of things. So revision, you're looking at the content. Proofreading and editing, that's when you're looking at the grammatical and the spelling stuff. A lot of people think that revision and proofreading happen at the same time, or that proofreading happens first. Really, you want to revise for content first and then worry about all of the little things, the spelling, grammatical, periods, commas, those types of things. The best part about once you get to step 4 is that you're almost done. Step 5, publishing. This is where you're going to put your work into any type of final draft. It could be a poster. It could be a video like we're doing now. It could be an essay. It could be a glogster, whatever the case may be. Publishing doesn't necessarily have to be a formally typed paper. It's just whatever your final draft is. You guys have a pretty good idea of what an essay is. Basically, an essay is just a piece of writing that's used to express one's opinion or point of view. You want to add this to your notes, please. We already talked about an argumentative essay in class. Basically, an argumentative essay is just an essay that's, like we said, is trying to be a little more forceful in your opinions, and your audience is going to be maybe a little a little more resistant to your message. You've got your 3 main parts of an essay, and I want you to write these down, please. First step or first part is the introduction. In the introduction, you're going to do a couple different things. They talk about it being a thesis statement, okay, and this is You're going to want to keep that concept in mind, what a thesis statement is. In the introduction of an essay, you want to make sure that you have a statement that you intend to prove or a question you intend to answer in the body of your essay. This is important. I want you to make sure that you get this stuff down in your spiral, what an introduction is. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to the introduction as being a hook. You're trying to hook your reader into what you're talking about. And then in the introduction, you're going to give the reader just enough information that will make them want to read the rest of your paper. In other words, you're hooking them in. You want to get them to draw their attention into the paper. The body. This is the important part. This is where you're going to get to the supporting details, the main concepts or main topics that you want to talk about. You need to have, for 7th graders, most of the time we're looking at 3 or more paragraphs, and in your paragraphs you need to make sure you have these things. And again, I want this on your spiral, so you're going to probably have to pause this and get it all written down. Topic sentence. This is important. If there's one thing that I notice many 7th graders lack in their writing is the use of a topic sentence. The topic sentence is usually, not always, but usually the first sentence of your work, of your paragraph. So if your topic sentence is about the benefits of exercise, then everything in that paragraph needs to be about the benefits of exercise. You can't get it. You don't want to get all sidetracked or talk about all these other ideas that don't necessarily relate to that topic sentence. So you need to really make sure that you have a well-crafted and focused topic sentence that controls what your paragraph is going to be about. Then you want to make sure you have plenty of supporting details. Going back to the benefits of exercise. If you're going to talk about the benefits of exercise, you need to have multiple supporting details that say, why is it important to exercise? Obviously, you could talk about living a healthy lifestyle and weight issues and those types of things. But this is really important that your supporting details directly relate to your topic sentence. You don't want to have anything in there just kind of randomly off to the side. Transition sentences. I want you to make sure you write this down, please. A transition sentence is usually the last sentence of your paragraph, and that's where you're going to transition from one idea to the other. Transition words, we've talked about those earlier. You guys will have a piece of paper in your binder that has some transition words listed on there. Transitional words help you transition between one sentence to another, just like a transitioning sentence help you You transition, let's try that again. You transition from one paragraph to the next. And then lastly, the conclusion. The conclusion is the so what. It ties everything together. You're going to briefly talk about some of the different things that are in your essay, but you're going to wrap it all up. What is the final thing that you want your reader to keep in mind? I think of it as like the bow on a package. The concluding sentence is the bow on your essay. You're going to really make it look pretty. You're going to wrap it all up. It's going to be the last little finishing touches on your work to make it that much powerful. You just don't want to end and leave the reader hanging. You want to make sure that you have a good concluding paragraph to tie everything all together. Okay, now we're going to move into the A.R.M.S revision process here pretty soon, and then also we'll talk about the revision checklist. All right, A.R.M.S, write this on your paper. This is an acronym. A.R.M.S. You might want to put it vertically on your paper, so you can just put A equals, R equals, M equals, so on and so forth. The A, this is where you're going to be adding information. So you can write that down next to the A. A equals adding information. You're going to add words, phrases, more details, more information that makes your points easier and clearer to read and understand. You might have to add some transitions. You might have to add some phrases, whatever the case may be, to make your essay a more polished piece of work. The next step is the R. R equals remove. This is where you want to get rid of anything that's repetitious. You want to repeat any words that repeat. You want to get rid of those. Any things that are redundant in nature. Redundant meaning repetitive. You want to get that out of there. And same thing with the things that don't relate to your topic sentence of your paragraph or the topic of your paper. Get rid of that stuff. Yeah, I know it's easy to tell stories, but if the story doesn't directly relate to your topic, make sure you get rid of it. M. M equals moving around. This is where you're going to think about, okay, does this flow well together? Does this make sense when having this information presented in this way? If there's something that would be being your first supporting detail, move it to the first or to the front. If it's something that is maybe less important, move it to the bottom or get rid of it. You can move around, add and remove so far. Substituting words. If you find out that you're using the same words over and over and over again, you might want to look at what other words can you use to substitute for that would mean the same thing and get a better product together for you. If you're substituting the words, don't necessarily just always go to oh man, that's hard for me to say. The thesaurus. There we go. A thesaurus is great, but many times what happens with 7th graders is they go in there and they look up a word. They see that according to the thesaurus, it's the same thing. Well, when you go to add it to your writing, it's not the same thing. So you got to be careful of just overusing to make yourself sound more intelligent and as a stronger writer. You got to make sure that what you're substituting makes sense. Okay, the revision checklist. You don't necessarily need to write this down, but this is important. You want to think about these things as you're writing or as you're going through this process. Do you have everything answered? Do you have an introduction? Do you have a conclusion? Are you using topic sentences? Do you provide plenty of supporting details that support your topic sentence? If you're not, then you need to make sure you go back and change that. Some more things to keep in mind. Is everything clearly stated? Hopefully your essay is a little clearer than some of these parts of this video, but you need to make sure your ideas are clearly stated. And are you varying your sentences? That's a big one. You got to make sure you're varying your sentences, and not only that, but how you start your sentences. If you look in every sentence starts with the same word, I, over and over, whatever the case may be, you need to make sure that you change that. Okay, is your point of view clear? Does it make sense? Again, paragraphs relating to the main topic, and then using connecting sentences. Conclusion. You need to have a conclusion. Does your conclusion answer, so what? Why do I care about this? Your conclusion you should not say, thank you for reading my paper, or you've just read about the benefits of exercising. Don't tell that to your reader. You never want to speak directly to your audience in an essay. Yeah, you need to address some of what they might be worried about or concerned about, but you never want to just directly address the audience. Again, make sure you go back using the A.R.M.S and use the proofreading and editing checklist. All right, so writing process, 5 steps. Make sure you have those 5 steps written down. A.R.M.S, make sure you have the A.R.M.S acronym written down. All of those things are important. We're going to be using those throughout the year. Sorry this got a little long-winded. Hopefully you guys were able to get all the notes down. If you have any questions, make sure you bring them to class so we can talk about them. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.